Situation, the accusations were the people in Hezbollah and southern Lebanon were shooting rockets into Israel, and Israel responded and made an incursion. Okay? So in that summer, just imagine the scene. There's this young mother with her two little children. She's standing in the line in Beirut that stretches for hundreds of meters. She's waiting to get food, blankets, and other supplies because they had to flee their home in southern Lebanon. And as she's waiting there, she keeps looking up into the sky because Israeli jets are they're flying low. They didn't actually drop bombs, but they're flying low over Beirut. And I don't know if you guys have ever been under an F-16 when it's flying at about 100 feet. But your whole body and your heart just shakes because of the force that's exerted. So she's sitting there with her two little kids in line. She's looking up every couple minutes, worried that they're going to get strafed by these jets. But as she gets to the front of the line, she sees the distribution trucks and she sees the IOCC logo. She breaks from the line. She runs to the front, and in typical Mideastern fashion, she embraces and kisses on each cheek our workers. She says, "I know you. You've been providing school in my child's, you've been providing lunch in my child's school the past 2 years." She starts to cry. And she said, "You were with us in the peace, and now you're with us in war." Since 1992, in 36 countries, International Orthodox Christian Charities has been with people both in times of peace and in times of war. And it was created for one simple reason: because there's suffering in this world. And especially as Americans, most of us have been blessed to not have to go through a lot of the suffering that other people have. The suffering that comes when a foreign army invades your soil and you're forced to flee and become a refugee, whether it's a true refugee that has to go to another country, or what we call an IDP, an internally displaced person, like the 500,000 Serbians who are still displaced from their homeland within the former Yugoslavia. People who are suffering from man-made disasters like war, but also from natural disasters, like the fires that swept through Greece, that burned an area bigger than I think the state of Rhode Island, that destroyed 4.6 billion olive trees in this country, including 3.5 million olive trees just in the Peloponnese region alone. Suffering from other disasters like Hurricane Katrina that hit the Gulf Coast of our own country. So what IOCC is an expression of the Orthodox people of America, not just Greek Orthodox, but the Russian Orthodox, the Serbian Orthodox, the Bulgarian Orthodox, the Romanian Orthodox, the Antiochian Orthodox, the Orthodox Church of America, all together as one faith-based, non-governmental organization in charge of distributing or giving out humanitarian aid. So IOCC was created in 1992. The reason we were created, and Jim could probably tell this story, and actually being involved in the effort, this certainly happened. What we were doing as Orthodox Christians in America before this time, when something bad would happen, whether it was in Serbia or Russia or Greece or wherever, we made in our own communities in America a little gathering and send it over to these places. But we were doing individual efforts that were coordinated. So because of that, our impact was greatly reduced. What other Christian organizations have been doing for 100 years is they pooled their resources and they leveraged federal money. And we as the Orthodox had never thought of that. Finally, in 1992, we got together and we created this organization to do humanitarian aid work throughout the world. But the other thing that it did that was very important, because we gathered our resources, we became a voice in Washington to try and get some of the federal money that was being given out. The way the federal government funds foreign assistance is two ways. One is government to government. So when you look and you say that we're giving $9 million a day to Israel, which is the figure, by the way, $9 million a day to Israel, just for perspective. Okay? When you see things like that in the paper, that means it's going two ways. It's going government to government, but it's also going through people like us. But the people like us in America, until we existed, were people like World Vision, Catholic Relief, Lutheran World Relief, United Methodist Council on Refugees or something, okay? There's all these faith-based U.S. organizations that have been giving millions of dollars assistance, most of it coming from the U.S. government. So once IOCC came into existence, we started to pull these resources for ourselves. And this is important for us to know because that's our tax money. So now for the first time, the 3 million Orthodox in America could have some of their own tax dollars go to an agency that was an Orthodox agency. Now, that doesn't mean that we go to any country and try and convert them to Orthodoxy or to Christianity. That's not our job. That's the job of missionaries. We don't do that. But what it means is that we go to people who are in dire need, who are suffering, who are many times hopeless and helpless, and we offer them not a handout, but a handout. I have a master's in social work, and I did some work.
No more than 5% of the damage and devastation that happened over there in that region. As much as the area was burned, animals, houses, stables, and other things, 65 lives were lost at that summer. Mostly in the prefecture of Philia, this is the area where IOCC mainly works because the biggest devastation and catastrophe was over there. Right after the wildfires, we went down to Peloponnesus, to the prefecture of Philia, and what we did actually was to see the situation, see what's going on, talk to the people, talk to the officials, so we could have started to do a needs assessment. After a few weeks, after actually a couple of weeks of the needs assessment, we decided that actually the main need for those people over there was to bring them animal feed, because we are talking about rural areas where most of the population does agricultural works and has animals, as you can see. The way that they have animals over there, their stables are not high-tech stables, and it's very, let's say, primitive way of doing with animals. They don't have the machines to get milk from the animals and things like that. So it was very easy for them at that fire to lose their stables and also animals. Right after the wildfires, the Greek government passed a law that abandoned those farmers to put their animals on to graze in the forests, because the forests were burned. Pasture lands were burned, so their animals didn't have any feed to survive, and they were in the stables or outside. So our first decision was to bring them animal feed so they can sustain their animals. And by sustaining their animals, they could sustain their families and their lives over there. Talking about animal feed, for the last 2 years that we worked down there, more than 6,000 tons of animal feed we brought and distributed to the people and farmers of Philia and Arcadia. Arcadia is another prefecture in Peloponnesus, which didn't have that much damage, actually, devastation like Philia, but still it was a huge catastrophe over there also.